Hello guys, I'm Sammy from HackerBad.net, and today I'd like to answer one of those questions I get every week, and that's concerning IP addresses and DDoS attacks, and if you're in danger and how you can protect yourself. So the situation a lot of people are in is like, oh, there's this creepy guy online, he knows my IP address. Can I get hacked? Can I get DDoS? Do I have lag or am I getting DDoS? What's going on? Like, am I in danger? How do these people do what they do? How do they DDoS me? What do they need to DDoS me? Okay. So let's start with the basics. First of all, calm down. You can't be hacked if somebody has only your IP address. It's almost impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible, but if you have a Windows computer, you have a firewall, and the only way to hack you would be through third-party programs, which is almost impossible. So, but yeah, it's not going to happen. However, denial of service attacks or distributed denial of service attacks are potentially possible. So if someone has your IP address, they can potentially make it so that you can't access the internet for a while, all right? But that shouldn't be a problem because you can just contact your internet service provider and have them change your IP address. So it's not a big deal. If you want to get around that, use either IP masking, just Google it. It's really difficult to explain. Or have your IP address changed. They can't really do much more with your IP address. And with most internet service providers, your IP will change anyways. Like with my internet service provider, it depends on which one I'm using. One of them changes every day. One of them changes every half year or so. So I don't worry too much about it. So next question, how do they get my my IP address if they get it? Now, usually what they'll do is they'll use a really cheap trick. Now, for this to work, they need to know your email address and they'll send you a picture, okay? That's basically how it works. I'm just going to demonstrate this with this trash mail that I've created. It's Haxxor with a 0 in it at trashmail.com, all right? Now, basically the way it works, they use a service like this. Basically what this service does is it generates an image. If someone looks at the image, they'll send you an email with their IP address. Now, the way you get someone to look at that image is by sending them an email, all right? So basically it generates an image. Then the person that wants to find your IP copies that and pastes it, all right? They'll mark it, they'll just, copy and paste it into their email, and then they'll send you the email. And obviously the image is invisible to you because it's just a blank white square. All right, so you don't know that you're looking at an image. And by the way, that's why most spam filters disable images in spammy emails because it can log your IP address. Because the image is hosted on this tracking site, in this case QTrack, and the tracking site, if somebody requests the image, they can log their IP address. And that's basically how it works. Now, I'm not going to actually send myself this image. I'm just going to copy the address and open it in a browser, which is basically the exact same thing, right? There we go. So now I've requested the image, and I'm just going to request it again and again and again, so that I certainly get the email. And now I should get an email. There you go. Your email hello has been read 1 time, and it has logged my IP address. And in this case, that would be 94 and so on and so on. So I've basically logged my own IP address. Obviously, that's not my actual IP address. I'm using a virtual private network at the moment, all right? So what then they could do is, for example, they could go to an IP lookup site, enter your IP address, and they would basically know more or less what your internet service provider is, where you're at. Obviously, I'm not in Turkey, no. But they would know in what general area your internet service provider is, and so on. So they could confuse you a little bit. Anyways, so that's how they get your IP address usually. obviously, if you're maybe playing on their server or whatever, they can get it other ways. But that's how they usually do it, by just sending you a tracking image. It's a very cheap technique. It's not even hacking. It's just sending an image and using a website, basically. It's not even hacking. It's nothing dangerous. However, denial of service attacks are real. Basically, what denial of service attacks are, and you're in danger, essentially, if someone has your IP address, they can denial of service attack you. And if someone has your Skype and you have added them on Skype, they can denial of service attack you as well. So, the Skype thing should be easy. Just don't add anybody who you don't know, okay? Usually, obviously, they will disguise themselves as really hot women with really hot profile pictures in order to get guys to add them and so on. But those tricks are old, and yeah. Just don't add anybody that you don't know. Don't give your email address to anybody. That way, you can be pretty sure that nobody can get a hold of your IP address. Now, the worst thing that can happen, let's say someone gets your IP address and they denial of service attack you. What will happen? Basically, they direct a lot of just traffic either from their own connection, or if they're an actual hacker, which is actual hackers don't just threaten people online. That's not gonna happen. Actual hackers would have networks of like computers that they're hacked, and they can actually do a distributed denial of service attack. But the script kiddies, they will just denial of service attack you with their own bandwidth. Just throw a bunch of bandwidth at you. The worst thing that happens is, well, yeah, you can't access the internet. And obviously, if you're playing a game and they're in the same server, they can grief you. Yeah, they can kick you off the server. They can make your internet unreachable. What you do in that case is very easy. You go to your internet service provider, ask them to give you another IP address, and the problem is solved. And from that point on, you don't open any emails anymore from people that you don't know. And especially don't look at the pictures. Or you use a virtual private network or whatever, or an IP mask to hide your actual IP address. So it's really simple. It's really, really simple, and nothing bad can happen to you, okay? The only thing that can potentially happen is that they get your IP address and throw a bunch of bandwidth at your connection and make the internet unreachable for you. That's basically the worst thing that can happen. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. There is a little bit more of a dark side to this, I guess, but that only applies if you have an internet service provider that basically never changes your personal IP address. I think there are still some of those, but I've never had one where I've actually had the same IP address over years. Now, in the dark web, if you've never heard about the dark web, that's kind of it's an encrypted kind of way of accessing the web, and it's complicated. Essentially, it's a lot of illegal websites, and a lot of hackers are using it because, yeah, it's the dark side of the internet in a way. Anyways, in the dark web, there are some sites where if someone hacks certain databases where IPs are connected to names and so on, if they want to, they can post it on that site. So those sites would allow hackers to potentially look up your actual name if somebody has hacked the site where you've been registered and so on, if it's still connected to that IP address through your IP address. It sounds really complicated, but essentially, if your internet service provider never changes your IP, it could be that on the dark web somewhere, if a site where you have signed up once has gotten hacked, they could find a connection to your actual name. So I've seen this happen once where somebody actually knew a guy that I played a game with. They knew everything about them. They knew like their full name, where they lived. They even knew their PayPal account, and that's not because they're like the master Haxxor. That's just because they got their email address, or they got their IP address or their email address or whatever, and they typed it into a database like that. where personal information is stored. So yeah. Anyways, and that is potentially a problem in the future if more websites get hacked. Like, our private information will become more public and so on. But they can't still do anything against you. And most of the threats that people make, if they're claiming to be hackers in online video games and so on, they're empty threats, because why would they invest a lot of time into destroying you just because of a video game? Like, no reasonable human being does that. What it's about is just getting people to be afraid. They're just trying to pressure, to bully someone by pretending to be bigger than they actually are and more powerful than they actually are. That's what a lot of script. That's the reason why a lot of script kiddies get into hacksoring, whatever. Anyways, so don't worry about it. It's gonna be all right. And yeah. Anyways, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks you guys for watching. See you guys soon. Hope this helps.